Hey listeners, you are listening to Retail After Hours by Prashanth and Faria. And today's episode will be about the challenges elderly face using self-checkouts.
Today's episode is brought to you by Shoppers Drug Mart, where every Thursdays is Seniors Day, where you can save 20% off on all regular price merchandise.
Hey Faria, have you noticed recently a lot of retailers have replaced cashiers for self-checkouts?
Actually, yeah, I was at Shoppers the other day where I was lining up to check out and noticed a huge line for the self checkouts, in which I saw a few elderly shoppers struggling with scanning their items, selecting the right menu, or even payment options. I also noticed that there weren't any cashiers around to even assist them.
That's weird because I actually had a similar experience when I went to No Frills. I feel like retailers are reducing the number of cashiers and really increasing the use of self-checkouts as it helps them cut down on costs and truly increase efficiency. However, they're not considering the elderly demographic who rely on human interactions, those especially who have physical and cognitive disabilities and lack digital literacy.
I agree. But on call, we have Ellie, who is an assistant manager at local Shoppers Drug Mart, who sees the challenges elderly shoppers face on a daily basis. Hey, Ellie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey Ellie, just curious to know, what is a common complaint you usually hear from elderly shoppers regarding the use of self-checkouts?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the call. Seniors Day is actually one of the most important days of our store as the elderly customers look forward to coming in to do their shopping. A common complaint that a lot of them were telling me was that there's hardly any cashiers at the front to help them. They don't like using self checkouts because they prefer to talk to a cashier so they can help them scan, bag their stuff, and then help pay for their items as well.
That's actually interesting because I came across an article on the BBC website which mentioned elderly shoppers feel like their shopping experience are miserable because they can go shopping without having the need to say hello to anyone, which results in them feeling really lonely and isolated.
Yeah, that's really concerning because some of the elderly customers that I spoke to, they told me that their only form of social interaction is when they go out to our store. And they like interacting with our staff as it reminds them of the good old days.
Human attraction is only one of the barriers that elderly shoppers face. Another prevalent disadvantage that they face with self-checkouts is their physical and cognitive impairments.
So, Ellie, just a quick question. Have you noticed any shoppers with any physical and cognitive impairments? If so, what did you notice about their behavior and how did they use the self checkouts?
Yeah, so I noticed that they were having a hard time finding where the barcode is to scan. They couldn't see or understand the menu options. They had trouble bagging their items, selecting the payment options. And some of them, too, like they couldn't hear what the kiosk was telling them to do. And unfortunately, it just puts them in an uncomfortable situation.
Physical and cognitive impairments, I truly believe all retailers should consider this when implementing the use of self-checkouts, as they should be mindful for all elderly demographics and impairments.
Digital literacy is also another challenge elderly shoppers face when using self checkouts, as some of them may not be technologically savvy.
I agree. Like, as many elderly shoppers, they come in and they struggle to navigate through the certain prompts because this type of technology is like considered foreign and intimidating to them since they're so used to the traditional checkout experiences. Some customers, like, I've seen them accidentally scan the same item twice and not knowing that they paid more for their stuff.
Yeah, that's really sad to hear. Digital literacy is a challenging barrier which elderly customers face, and retailers should investigate on how to acknowledge this ongoing issue. As actually, an article that I read last week that was based off the grocery drive, senior consumers ages 65 and plus are a growing rate. That is almost three times that is the rest of the population. Those over 65 represent a large portion of the overall market. So I think it's best that retailers should consider maybe enhancing their self checkouts to really fit the elderly demographic.
I agree with what you said, Prashant. Now back to Ellie. Just had a question. Have you noticed Shoppers Drug Mart making any adjustments in making self checkouts accessible for elderly customers specifically?
Like nothing specific towards the self-checkout machines, but what we do is we try to schedule more cashiers on Seniors Day just so we can help them out with the self-checkout.
That's good to hear. Well, based on the research we actually conducted, we do have some suggestions that can improve the overall self checkout experience for elderly shoppers, such as providing accessible options to enlarge text and menu buttons so that they can actually understand the product description of what they're scanning and selecting the correct options. Another option is adding assistive technology that can enable on-screen text into speech audio or even braille, and basically placing a seat beside the machine for those who can't stand for a long period of time. What do you think?
Yeah, Faria, I think those are really great recommendations. I'll take note and I'll bring this attention to the head office team.
Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you, Ellie, for joining us today on Retail After Hours. We appreciate your time and listening to your personal experience working at Shoppers Drug Mart.
Once again, this podcast is sponsored by Shoppers Drug Mart.